Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, December 31, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you guys utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located in the comment section, as well as the video description, so that you can skip to the point in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because you know that the videos over here at Weather Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the has been like in your ear recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so considering that it is the last day of December, we need to highlight what was predicted for the month of December at the end of November in this video that was posted on the last day of November. And we can see here that according to the CFS, we were expecting to get a lot of rainfall across especially the southwestern Caribbean into the Central America region, as well as portions of the northeastern Caribbean. And I guess it would be safe to say that it's somewhat verified, considering that we definitely got above average rainfall across portions of Jamaica this month for sure. Definitely verified in a sense. And we're gonna be looking at what the forecast is for January shortly. America. Alright, so if we take a look right here at the CFS, that's the climate forecast system, and this is valid for January 2025. We see the greens into the blue colors that we can see from the key on the right that represents above normal rainfall, anywhere from 0.5 of an inch all the way up to as far as maybe 6, maybe up to 8 inches of rainfall. And we see where most of this is situated across sections of Jamaica, into the southwestern Caribbean, into Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, sections of Venezuela, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, the Windward Islands, even portions of the Leeward Islands into Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, getting in on some above average rainfall for January. And that's just the CFS. Let us see what the CANSIPS model is showing. We're basically seeing something similar right here. We know the whites into the yellows represent below average rainfall. We see that across especially the Gulf of Mexico into Cuba, the Bahamas, sections of Mexico into the southern and eastern portion of the United States. We see that the most moisture is set to be across the southern portion of the basin. We're talking about Central America into Northern South America, some parts of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. We're seeing some of the below average rainfall into Jamaica, but on the CFS we're seeing some above normal rainfall into Jamaica. Let us see what the NMME model is showing for January 2025. We're seeing basically a consensus that Central America into Northern South America are going to be getting above normal rainfall, also into the Eastern Caribbean. Jamaica is smack dab in the middle, threading the needle. So we see what's happening. The CFS showing above normal rainfall for Jamaica. Then we have the CANSIP showing below normal rainfall for Jamaica. Now we have the NMME model basically showing Jamaica right there in the middle, getting average rainfall in the whites. So it's not above average with the greens, it's not below average in the yellows. Very interesting. Let us see what the latest from the Climate Prediction Center, the US Climate Prediction Center's Global Tropics Hazards Outlook. Let us see what it is showing, and keep in mind that this was just issued today at, well, December 31 by the forecaster Novella. And what do we see? Across the Atlantic into the Caribbean, we see the area across Jamaica not receiving much in the way of above normal rainfall. Basically, nothing in general. Don't see any area shaded. We do see a lot of blues across the US, below average temperatures. That's what that represents, as we can see by the key on the bottom right. We can see some slightly above normal rainfall in the southwestern Caribbean. So I guess it's kind of verifying based on what the climate models were showing earlier. But that's basically it. And if we actually match what we just saw to the CARICOF forecast, this is the Caribbean Climate Outlook precipitation forecast for January into February. We can see it kind of resembles, especially the NMME, with average rainfall in the whites across Jamaica, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico into the Leeward Islands, with above average rainfall across section of the ABC Islands into portion of the Eastern Caribbean, the Windward Islands, and northeastern South America. Excuse me. A very interesting forecast indeed. We see exactly what unfolds. Usually what the CARICOF shows isn't 100% set in stone, but it does paint quite a picture of what could definitely happen during January. If we take a look at Atlantic hurricane and tropical storm activity based on data from 1944 to 2020, we're basically off the map now. This map shows from May all the way to December, and we're not seeing January at all. So no systems are expected or have ever been recorded. Not sure how 100% accurate that is, but this map doesn't show it at all. Even this one right here, showing the tracks and points of origin from when records began 1851 to 2023. Not seeing anything after December up until we get into April. So I guess we're going to be having to wait until April before we can actually zoom in some more on where we've had systems form during those points. But we're going to be keeping you all updated regarding the sea surface temperature anomalies. And we can see the below average sea surface temperatures across the central Pacific Ocean. That, it represents a La Nina, but we're seeing the eastern portion of the Pacific starting to warm up. Does that mean that a neutral condition like pattern is coming soon, or could it be maybe an El Nino? We know El Nino has to do with the very warm sea surface temperatures of the eastern to the central Pacific that causes more upward motion, more rising air, more thunderstorms forming across this part of the world. Then that in turn causes a lot more upper level wind shear across the Caribbean in general that tears the tops of these thunderstorms off. But we've been in a La Nina like state, or towards a La Nina like pattern, for the past couple of months. We'll see if we actually get it declared before all is said and done, before we even get into the 2025 hurricane season. Either way, regarding the Atlantic, we can still see that there's a lot of very warm sea surface temperatures across our portion of the basin, reaching all the way from the Azores into the portion right here near the Cabo Verde Islands, into the Caribbean, into the Gulf of Mexico. Still very above normal sea surface temperatures, which could explain all of the activity that we've been experiencing across the Caribbean. Lots of shower and thunderstorm activity. There's a lot of heat taking place, definitely causing rainfall to be still taking place in general. And we saw the rainfall for the past week across sections of the island. For sure, we don't normally get such rainfall, especially on the south coast during this month in general. So we can definitely blame it on the sea surface temperatures, very warm at that for this time of year. And trust me, if this actually extends into the 2025 hurricane season, it could definitely be concerning. We're also watching the ocean heat content, that's the tropical cyclone heat potential. Even although this map hasn't updated since November 22, we're still watching. We know anywhere from the yellows into the oranges and reds represent where we have the deepest, warmest water. So we just looked at the sea surface temperature anomaly that's looking at how warm the waters are at the skin of the ocean. And we know these systems usually use up some of that at the top part of the sea, but we can churn up even more warm water when we are talking about the ocean heat potential. And we know the area in and around Jamaica usually has the most tropical cyclone heat potential in general. We only wished that we had this map updated. Hopefully it will be updated in 2025. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and the latest GFS supercomputer model runs. We're going to be focusing our attention right here at the top. We're just going to be going on to the next 168 hours. And we're going to be focusing our attention right here across Jamaica as we look out for this that we see on the key on the right. The reds into the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represent inches of rainfall. So let us see exactly what occurs. Alright, so heading into Wednesday, we can see some dots of greens in and around the island, which could mean some isolated showers here and there, maybe some rainfall on the afternoon of Wednesday, January 1, 2025 for sure. We'll see exactly what unfolds with that. Heading into Tuesday, definitely have less rainfall. We see more whites than anything else, representing fair weather. Heading into Friday, what do we see? We see some dots of greens, especially across the northeast. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Heading into Saturday, definitely more rainfall on the north coast than anything else. Heading into Sunday, definitely some isolated showers for the northeast again, and it's also very dry as we can see here across the Gulf of Mexico, Cuba, the Bahamas, those areas that the models were predicting below average rainfall for. And we can even see the most moisture across the Caribbean, especially the southwestern Caribbean. So it's already coming to fruition based on the long range climate models that we just looked at. Heading into Monday, still having most of the rainfall across the waters of the Caribbean from the east to the west. And then we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for Tuesday, January 7th. And we still see the moisture stretching from Belize across northern Honduras, eastern Nicaragua, stretching into portions of the central to the eastern Caribbean. And we can also see a long line of shores right here associated with the frontal system, stretching into the northern Bahamas, the southern and southwestern Gulf of Mexico right here, western Cuba getting on some of the action too. We're going to be matching it to what the latest GFS is showing. So we just looked at the latest 7-day forecast on the Euro model that came out at 3:30 p.m. today. Now we're going to be looking at the latest 7-day forecast from the GFS that came out an hour ago at 6 p.m. So heading into Wednesday, we're definitely going to be getting on some afternoon rainfall. 0Z on Thursday. January 2 is actually 7 p.m. on Wednesday, and we do see some greens that represent some isolated shores in and around the island for sure. We also see a lot of rainfall across Central America. Heading into Thursday, definitely less rainfall than what we're going to be experiencing on Wednesday, just like what the Euro model showed. Friday, some isolated shores maybe across the northeast. Saturday, something similar, maybe more widely scattered across northern Jamaica for sure. Sunday, something similar to Saturday. Monday, something similar to a bit like Sunday. I think I saw it right here, 18th on Monday, which is actually 1 p.m. across northern Jamaica. Then by 0Z, which is actually 7 p.m. on Monday across second, central, and western parishes if you look closely. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. Let's look at some similarities and some differences. The Euro has the long line of shores associated with a potential frontal system into the Bahamas, western Cuba, and the southern and southwestern Bahamas, well, southern and southwestern portion of the Gulf of Mexico. The GFS has the line of shores associated with that frontal system, but is stretching more into Florida, as well as the eastern to the central and western Gulf of Mexico. Regarding the Caribbean, something a bit similar. Most of the moisture across sections of Central America, the waters of the southwestern to the central and the southeastern Caribbean. A very interesting forecast. We see the GFS has something similar, even although the GFS is trying to incorporate sections of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the Leeward Islands. Either way, we'll see exactly what unfolds. And regarding the total accumulated precipitation forecast, we know This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until January 7. And based on what we see on the key on the right, the most rainfall is represented by the reds, up to 1 inch of rainfall, into the dark reds, that's burgundy, maybe 2 inches of rainfall, the purples to the pinks, 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. The peach colors, anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of rainfall. And we see that the most rainfall within the next 7 days, according to this GFS run, is showing that eastern portion of the Yucatan, section of Belize, section of northern Honduras, eastern Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, western Venezuela, the ABC Islands, northern Venezuela, eastern Venezuela, Guyana, section of Trinidad and Tobago. We even see some rainfall in store for portions of the Eastern Caribbean, maybe sections of Guadeloupe. Let us match this latest GFS to the latest Euro. Do we see something similar? Oh yes, we do. As a matter of fact, the Euro is even more robust with the rainfall across that area near Guadeloupe. Maybe Dominica, Martinique might get in on some of the action. We also see the Trinidad and Tobago area, the ABC Islands, northern Venezuela area getting in on some of the heavy rainfall too. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that this rainfall is not going to be all at once. It's just going to be spread out over the next 7 days. Either way, we could get in on some isolated flash flooding for sure. And we know that when we look at both the Euro and the GFS supercomputer model forecast, the chances are higher for it to actually happen. So we'll see exactly what unfolds as time goes on. Regarding the close-up of Jamaica, regarding our rainfall forecast for the next 7 days. Excuse me. So we're looking here at the close-up of Jamaica, showing all the rainfall that's expected or expected to be accumulated from now up until January 7, 2025. And we still see that there's not much change. The most in the way of rainfall as represented by the blues into the greens into the yellows into the oranges, representing anywhere from 5 millimeters of rainfall all the way up to maybe 60 millimeters of rainfall. It's going to be plaguing St. James, Trelawney, section of St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, maybe even spilling into section of St. Andrew and St. Thomas. And we see that even the GFS supercomputer model is showing something similar, but a bit less. Not seeing much of those oranges, but some yellows, maybe the 30 to 40 millimeters of rainfall range right there. A very interesting forecast, but not much change at all. It's the dry season, so this is definitely expected in general. We will see exactly what unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Excuse me. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can see that we have a ridge of high pressure right here affecting, well, it's right there sitting on top of Bermuda. It's not called the Bermuda High for nothing. We can see that we still have that frontal system stretching all the way from northern portion of the North Atlantic, stretching all the way down into portions of the main development region where it has induced a trough in the area. We can also make out some frontal systems right here to the west of the ridge of high pressure. And we know the ridge of high pressure is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can make out all of the entities that we just mentioned. Excuse me. So we can make out the clouds associated with the frontal systems across the US as well as east of there. We can make out the spin associated with that airflow pressure and the line of clouds with the showers that has induced into portion of the main development region like what was mentioned. And we can also make out the flow, the low level flow of the clouds pushing from east to west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Tuesday, December 31, 2024. If you remember yesterday's video, not much rainfall was in the forecast at all, to be honest. And we actually got in on some cloud cover though across eastern parishes. And we know eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. And look what happened. The post is made here on our Twitter page with the Jamaica. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that these posts aren't only made here on our Twitter page, but they are made on our Instagram page with the .Jamaica, on our TikTok page with the Jamaica, and on our Facebook page with the Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as you make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can see right here that the visible satellite image was posted at around 2:46 p.m. and the post was stating the cloud them sit down upon St. Thomas and Portland at Tuesday afternoon. Yeah, Kingston is next. What a backside of Freedom Street wash out later. And we know Freedom Street is basically that huge concerted vibes cartel that's going to be taking place. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, this was what was posted at around 2:46 p.m. We had some clouds blanketing portions of Portland and St. Thomas. Maybe possibly bring some overcast skies, if not some isolated shores, especially in the mountains. Because you know that when these clouds are sitting on top of the Blue Mountains, they can definitely squeeze out even more moisture. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see the clouds were definitely pushing from east to west in a sense, but they seem to have been dissipating the more west that they went. So I guess not really going to be affecting the concert for those persons who are going. And we can even make out that upper level flow of the cirrus clouds being pushed off from the southwest to the northeast. So for the most part, it was a sunny day, if not a partly cloudy day. Maybe some overcast skies across eastern Jamaica, but that's basically it. And we can see the upper level flow of the cirrus clouds even better on the infrared satellite images right here, showing the whitish colors into the bluish into the greenish colors. Definitely cirrus clouds in general. And if we take a look at the halfway tree camp today, at around 4:39 p.m. we can see that there is not much taking place. We can make out some of the clouds that spilled in from Portland and St. Thomas right here, sitting on top of the hills of northern St. Andrew for sure. Basically overcast skies in general, nothing significant in terms of bad weather. If we take a look at the accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map paints quite the picture that we're definitely getting on maybe some isolated shores underneath some of those clouds that were sitting on top of St. Thomas and Portland. It was mainly affecting the hills right here, maybe the mountainous areas in general. And we have at least one comment here from one of our followers on our Instagram page. We had bar_tab stating the rain Portland side has been no joke. And I guess that indeed confirms the rainfall that section of the island received today. And if we take a look at the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website, not seeing much at all. All of these colors that we're seeing across western Portland, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, to the south of Kingston and St. Thomas, basically some upper level cirrus clouds, all of which are streaking towards the northeast. Nothing bad in terms of heavy weather gonna be taking place. And we have the Cuban Doppler radar images right here to confirm. Let's reload it so that we have the very latest to show. I think the very latest should be showing 7:10 p.m. considering that it is now 7:17 p.m. So we can see it right here, 7:10 p.m. now. Excuse me. We do make out some isolated showers to the east of St. Thomas. Where else do we see rainfall? We see some rainfall right here to the far south of Kingston, to the south of St. Elizabeth right here. I think we can make out one dot of green. That's basically it. We can definitely have some isolated shores somewhere here underneath all of this, which is why we're happy that we have the Cuban Doppler radar to confirm this. If we take a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuban Naval Radar imagery, we can make out some rainfall right here across the southwestern peninsula of Haiti's southwestern tip, pushing towards the sea. Taking a look at the Cayman radar right here. Let us see what's happening over there. Is it gonna be showing? Alright. Not seeing much of anything across the Cayman Islands or Western Jamaica, but we do make out some isolated showers right here to the far south of Grand Cayman, as well as to the southwest of there too. If we take a look at what's happening on the panoramic city view, excuse me, the panoramic city view that sometimes shows us what's happening across the National Stadium. Are we gonna be seeing any of that, or is it gonna be stuck looking up at New Kingston? Alright, there we go. Look at all of the people. This was what, 5:57 p.m. People are definitely out and ready for this Freedom Street concert. We can see a lot of them lining up and pushing towards where the National Stadium is located. Police definitely out there. This was 5:58 p.m. Pretty sure the live camera the live camera is looking towards New Kingston, and halfway through the transport center is right there. But I guess we could definitely see at that time that it was definitely hustling and bustling. People getting ready in general for what's to come tonight. Either way, in terms of the weather, definitely gonna be fair. Not much in the way of bad weather at all taking place as we speak. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay and Kingston. And by about 4 a.m. on Wednesday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Wednesday when calculated. That's about 1 p.m. on Wednesday. And we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some gray colors on the eastern half and the yellow color on the western half. We know the gray color represents average temperature. The yellow color represents at least 1 degree Celsius above average temperature. And we're heading into the month of January. In January, the average temperature for Jamaica is around 86.5 degrees Fahrenheit. And when that is calculated to degrees Celsius, it's still 30 degrees Celsius, but about 30.2. In December, it's usually 30.6. So I guess it's down a bit. We're heading deeper into winter. And considering that we're going to be receiving average on the eastern half, so 30.2 degrees Celsius across eastern to central Jamaica, western half, maybe 31.2 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's western portion of the island. And we're still not seeing anything from my JPS online regarding any maintenance outage advisories that are in store for us, because you know that if we have power outages, it can definitely make the heat even worse. We don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So we're indeed grateful that they haven't been, doing any maintenance outages at this time. Either way, if tomorrow is going to be a bit too hot for you, we have some tips right here to beat the heat. It states here, dress down, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions, and pets. It states here, be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to always stay hydrated. Put away the sugary drinks, drink water instead. Excuse me. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. The yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we see a lot of dry air right here off the coast of Africa. We see a lot of dry air right here across the northern portion of the main development region, stretching into the eastern Caribbean. A lot of dry air to the north of the Greater Antilles. A lot of dry air across the Gulf of Mexico, as well as off the east coast of the United States, stretching all the way up. But we see more blues into the grayish colors that represent a lot of moist air, stretching all the way across the southern main development region into the central and the western Caribbean, Central America, northern portion of South America for sure. Lots of moist air across our area. And regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Monday. Hold on, let me see if I can find the right image. It's not showing me the right one at all. It's showing me Monday, December 30. We're going all the way to Wednesday. Wednesday, January 1. Alright, here we go. I guess this is where it ends. So I guess this is for, yeah, here we go. 2 p.m. on Wednesday. We can see right here that for the first day of the year, we're still going to be in the clear. Northern South America, the Bahamas, the Eastern Caribbean, into the Central and Western Caribbean. Majority of Northern South America, Central America, definitely in the clear because all of the dust that represents the Sahara, well, all of the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be across the eastern portion of the main development region. And we're indeed grateful that we're not seeing the dark shades of browns that we know represent the vigorous plume that can cause very hazy skies, not to mention trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons. If we take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, not much change, seeing the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues all across the basin that represents from 0.5 meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave height. And that's because of the winds that are expected. Clearly, the north coast of Jamaica, 0.5 meter wave height. The waters to the south of Jamaica, 0.7 of a meter wave height. Excuse me. And we can clearly see why. The winds are going to be coming in more so from the east northeast across the eastern Caribbean. Something similar across the central to the southwestern Caribbean. Can definitely make out that flow, especially across the Gulf of Mexico from the northeast. And we're seeing the dull greens into the bright shades of greens right here. That represents anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 knots, maybe even gusting to 20 knots, especially right here off the coast of Colombia. And if we take a closer look at Jamaica regarding these wind forecasts, we can definitely see what's expected. Excuse me. So on the north coast tomorrow, we can see up to 12 knot wind, 8 knots on land, south coast out to sea 10 knot wind, and we can also make out that the air is going to be piling up across sections of some southern parishes. We see that's where the least amount of winds are going to be located. So that's where all of the air is going to be piling up. That's where if we get some rainfall, we could get some diurnal convection across sections of southern Jamaica. And with the winds coming in from the east-northeast, whatever comes off of the sea, maybe some relief rainfall, could definitely bring some isolated showers to section of northern parishes. So the forecast is definitely for rainfall, especially during the morning across northern Jamaica. Then during the afternoon across section of some southern parishes. We'll see exactly what unfolds. And we still have that upper level flow of the winds, the wind shear coming in from the southwest for tomorrow. Something similar to what we're receiving right now when we see these high cirrus clouds being streaked out towards the northeast. So if we get some isolated afternoon thunderstorms, we could see something similar to that again. And if we take a look at the actual rainfall forecast maps now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing the rainfall that's expected on 7 a.m. at 7 a.m. on Wednesday, January 1, 2025. And where do we see the blues that represent rainfall? Across eastern parishes, well, far eastern end of the island, as well as section of some northern parishes. The GFS has more of that rainfall out to sea to the north, but we see some of it spilling into sections of coastal areas of St. James. We also see some rainfall to the far eastern end of the island as well, just like what we saw on the Euro. We'll see exactly what unfolds. I'll definitely keep you updated at 7 with what occurs. Then by about 4 p.m. now, look at this. Not only are we seeing some blues that represent rainfall across the northeast, Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, on the Euro and the GFS, we're also seeing some isolated afternoon rainfall across some southern parishes. Excuse me. So we're talking about Westmoreland, maybe St. Elizabeth, Manchester, sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, maybe St. Thomas getting in on the action. We'll see exactly what occurs at those times. And I'll definitely keep you posted on our other social media platforms. Even the accumulated precipitation forecast maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing that there's going to be rainfall somewhere across Jamaica tomorrow. The Euro showing up to at least 0.16 of an inch of rainfall across St. Andrew, and up to 0.12 of an inch of rainfall across Portland. The GFS showing up to at least 0.11 of an inch of rainfall across Portland. Either way, we'll see exactly what unfolds. We're now entering the month of January. In January, we usually receive in Kingston something close to an inch of rainfall, close to 25 millimeters of rainfall. Definitely less rainfall than what we get in December. In Montego Bay, we usually receive up to 3 inches of rainfall. That's about the same as 75 millimeters of rainfall in general. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of January or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website will show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. We know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the math yourself. Alright, so that is it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we do see some patches of low-level clouds across portions of the Leeward Islands. We also see some clouds bringing some isolated thunderstorms to sections of eastern Honduras, Nicaragua, sections of southwestern Guatemala. We also see some activity across sections of Costa Rica, Panama, sections of Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana. As usual, nothing new. If we actually take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, let's see what's happening down there near Puerto Rico. Section of eastern Puerto Rico getting on some isolated shores as we speak. The waters to the east of Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda getting on some isolated shores too. And if we load these images from earlier today, we can see that flow of the rainfall definitely coming into portions of eastern Puerto Rico. We can also make out the isolated showers in and around portions of the waters near Guadeloupe to the east of Antigua and Barbuda for sure. Taking a look at the Barbados radar, we do make out some isolated patches of rainfall pushing in from the east northeast to the west southwest towards Martinique and St. Lucia. Not seeing much affecting St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Barbados or Trinidad and Tobago right now. But if you take a look at the weather via Doppler radar images, we can see that rain band pushing in from the west to affect sections of southern Florida. We can make out some rainfall across the waters to the east of Belize, as well as onshore across sections of Honduras. We can tell a lot of rainfall across eastern Nicaragua, as well as the waters to the east of there, as well as some isolated shores passing to the north of the ABC Islands, some of which are affecting section of the ABC Islands as we speak. We are also seeing some rainfall across sections of Colombia. And if we take a look at where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing other rainfall expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Wednesday. And we can see that the most rainfall should be affecting these areas labeled in oranges and yellows. We're talking about sections of the Yucatan, northern Guatemala, sections of Belize, sections of Honduras, El Salvador, sections of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, sections of southern, western, and eastern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago getting in some of the action too. And we see the greens into the slight yellows that represent isolated shores, and the isolated shores are definitely in store for these areas. You know, we're talking about eastern Cuba, section of northeastern Jamaica, section of northeastern Hispaniola, section of northeastern Puerto Rico, into portions of the Leeward Islands for sure. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this forecast. And we know that when they're in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.